Hello and welcome to Andy's Shed Live. This is a one-off special, Sunday the 7th of July 2024. Hello there everybody, welcome to the show for this one-off special today, just for Sunday the 7th of July. Here it's a one-off purely and simply because we're not going to be on for the next couple of weeks. We've been a bit hit and miss over the summer, and that's because I've been out and about doing things here, there and everywhere, and we're also having a bit of a revamp of some of the technical stuff here, so hopefully by the time sort of end of August comes around, beginning of September, and we become more regular once again with these, hopefully the streams will be better and we'll be on better platforms and be able to do the whole thing better, basically. So yeah, well, that's the theory of it. Anyway, whether it'll work or not, it's anybody's guess, but that's the theory of it. Right, who is with us today? Let's have a little look. Hang on, let me get rid of that. Right, who is with us today? Wesley's here, Christopher's here, Arthur's here, Bill's is here, Gambo's here, and Fat Hobbit is here. So crikey, everybody is here tonight. Well, we are on we are on the YouTube chat tonight, or the Facebook chat if you happen to be watching us on Facebook. We're having problems with the Odyssey chat. It keeps putting adverts in the little thing there, which we don't want there. So we're having problems with that. We are looking for a solution, an alternative chat server at the moment that will be a kind of standalone chat server that you will reach through the Andy Shed website. We are working on that at the moment, but it's not happened as yet, but I am working on that. If anybody knows anything about chat servers, possibly Discord or something like that, and then get in touch with us. So that is what is happening there. What is happening here? Well, not a lot has happened here over the last few weeks, mainly because we've been busy. We've been doing all sorts of stuff, getting very busy. Orders have been coming in for the model railway coaches and things. Have I got one I can show you? I've got one of the little tank cars. These are 009 scale, so 4mm scale on N-gauge track, which makes them around about 2-foot gauge models in scale, 4mm scale. This is a little narrow gauge tank car that we do in our model range that we make here. And the three plank wagon. And we've got some others. We've got a semi-open coach. So you can't see them very well. There you go. A semi-open coach that we do. We also do a brake van. I've got a brake van version here. No, I haven't actually. I've got a built-up brake van I can show you. Not what's easily get-attable. No, I haven't. There's another one of the tankers there. That one's got some rather oversized experimental couplings on it. Don't worry, we're not going with those couplings because they're a bit too big. But that gives you an idea of what they can look like when they're done. And we're also in the process of producing some big bogie coaches as well. Have I got one of those that I can show you? I've got the body of one. It's not had the windows removed yet. Not had the windows punched out yet, this one, but when it has those windows punched out, that's the body of one of the bogie coaches that we'll be doing. Yeah, if you want one of these models, get yourselves over to Andy's Emporium. I don't think I've not got a link to it easily available. But yeah, get yourselves over to andysemporium.coalpress.net and click on the thing for Model Railways when you get there, and you will see them all available on there. In fact, I can probably do it. Let's have a little look. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's the one. Andy's Emporium is right there. That's what it looks like when you get on it. So there it is. It's andysemporium.coalpress.net is the address to go to for that, and you can find all the coaches and things on there. Right, what has everybody been up to then this week? I'm trying to read it. Cracky, I can't read this very well on here tonight. Oh, it doesn't show up very well, this chat, does it? Chris says, hi, did you get the photos on West Electric phone? I probably have, Christopher, just not had a chance to open the emails yet. I've been that busy. I've got emails for about 3 weeks stacked up that I've not even looked at yet. So yeah, I'm just getting so many emails now that it's getting impossible to reply to every email. So I will get to you eventually, but it's going to take time. Bill says a popular chat seems to be StreamYard at the minute. Yeah, I've tried using StreamYard. StreamYard is a thing similar to Restream, and we send out these things now on Restream rather than on StreamYard. But yeah, it's a similar thing. I did look at it. It costs though, does StreamYard? It costs quite a bit. So I'm researching it, but again, time is my problem. Time. I just don't have the time to research it. I just don't have the time to sit down. I don't have a spare minute any day of any week. Not a spare minute. And that's the problem. Gambo says, how's the red upside down wall phone getting on? It's here still, Gambo. It's here at the side of me actually, because I moved it today. But yeah, here it is. I've got to find the thing that goes on there, the little brackety thing. I've got some of these brackets somewhere, and I've got to root them out. They're buried in a box somewhere, I'm fairly sure. But yeah, I've got to find that out, and then basically this will be more or less completed. But yeah, there it is. It'll be quite unusual, this, and we get it done. I might actually put it on the wall somewhere and get it completed, that one, due to its unusualness. Wesley says, is there any allotment news? No, Wesley. Basically, I just keep mowing it to try and keep the weeds down on it. Oh, there is a bit of allotment news. It's grown to 3 plots now, which are not quite side by side. 2 of them are, but the other one's separate. But it has grown to 3 plots now. One of them has got a shed on it which I need to break into because it's got a padlock on it, so I need to break into it to find out what's in it. Yeah, that's probably going to be a job for this coming week actually. Bill says, Andy, put your emails in folders. Yeah, then I've got to open lots of folders though, Bills. That's the problem. The problem is time. That's my problem. That's my problem, and that's why these streams disappear now on certain weeks, because they're the thing that goes. They're the thing that doesn't happen when I just run out of time in a week, because it happens all the time. Gambo says, I think the phone would look good behind you, opposite the light switch. What, up there? Up there somewhere, like that. Yeah. There's a problem with that. That's a not a very strong wall. That wall behind me. I don't know if it'd support the weight of a 746 hanging off it. It's just a bit of plasterboard basically. That wall. It's like a dividing wall. It's not a proper wall. But yeah, maybe I could put something on it, like a note board or something on it, and then screw the phone to that. So yeah, possibly do that. So yeah, it's all go. So yeah, it's a busy one, and it is likely to be for the next few weeks. So next week we're not here, because I've got a stationary engine event on Saturday, which is Harthill Carnival, and it'll take me Sunday to recover from it. So we're not on next week, and we won't be on the following week, because the following week we've got a 2-day event, which is Fiskerton Vintage Rally, near Newark. So if you happen to be in the little village of Fiskerton in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be there for the weekend. So make sure you come and say hello. Telephone wise, stuff that's been happening. Oh, Dominic's not here, is he? Do we need to speak to Dominic? But telephone wise, I can't remember if I showed you. But a couple of these have rocked up. Now, these say on the back of them 248, I think it is, PL64. So the PL, I think, is Plessy, isn't it? So these have recently rocked up. There you go. 248, is it? Do you think? And I've got a couple of these. So what I need now is the draw dials and the control box for them. The control box is a way of doing it, but the draw dials, I need draw dials. So if anybody's got any draw dials out there, let me know. Bakelite era draw dials. I've got a spare draw dial that is a what's it one? I've got one that is a a plastic era phone one, a 700 series era phone, draw dial. But I'm wanting to get one that's more for the Bakelite era, if I can. To go with one of those. But yeah, thought they were rather nice. Pendant phones don't turn up very often these days, and they certainly never turn up as a working system. I got a plastic era one, a 700 series one, working some time ago. I managed to get one working. I managed to wire it up. Followed a very convoluted wiring diagram, converted the 746 phone into a bell set, and managed to get one going, basically. So I can get them going, but I just have to get the bits. What else again? But they look brilliant, those pendant phones. I thought they were 246. It might be 246. What does the other one say anything on it? So I've got two. This is the other one. Equally difficult to read. What do you think? 2, 4, 6, perhaps? Perhaps. Well, yeah. They're okay, aren't they? And I didn't pay a lot for them because with them not having a dial on them, people don't want to. People don't think they work, you see. Because they don't put a dial on, they don't realise what they are. But then you know me, I never pay a lot for anything. Oh, Dominic has arrived. He says, looking forward to going up to Orkney next week, although the weather looks drench, sadly. Yes. Yes. The further north you go, the worse it gets, I think, with weather in this country. I think that seems to be the general reason for it. Although I did go to Aberdeen once and didn't get wet. I was amazed that I managed to go to Aberdeen and not get wet. I spent a whole day stood outside in Aberdeen and it didn't rain on me once. Gambo says, I've got a plastic pendant, not wired, and a bell set working, but no dial draw for it though, as they are rare. Bill says, was a pendant phone an intercom? No. No, Bills. It's a proper phone. The idea was they were for office desks, control rooms. If you imagine something like NASA's mission control room, with all those desks with banks of monitors built into the desk and that, they would put the pendant phone bit onto a vertical bit of the desk so it didn't take up desk space, and then the little dial thing that was like a little drawer would be mounted under the desk so you could pull it out and dial your number. Quite clever, actually. All to do with saving space on your office desk. And then there's a control box that controls it all, that basically has most of the gubbins that's inside a normal phone, and looks like a normal bell set that was hidden away somewhere under the desk or something like that. Christopher says, when I get my Western Electric 2500, the bells didn't work, but I got the bells working. I have to fix the keypad because one button gets stuck down. Dominic says the pendant phones were common in panel signal boxes. Yeah, could well have been that. Maybe where some of these have come from. But yeah. Yeah, the pendant phones, I quite like them, and particularly the plastic ones made out of 700 series bits. Um, it is a neat solution to the problem of space, and that is another problem I have. I have two problems: not enough time and not enough space. They're the two big problems that I suffer from. If anybody knows how I can solve either of those two things, please do let me know. Um, Dominic says, I've seen archive films where STC did a pendant version of the trim phone, it seems. Did they? Now, there's interesting things about trim phones. One, I've seen trim phone handsets not connected to anything that I think were used on control panels. I've seen trim phone handsets with a curly cord on and then a plug on the end, like an audio plug thing, but with multiple rings on it. So that must plug into something. So STC had trim phone handsets to plug into something. And I believe I've not imagined this. I have heard mention, although I've never seen one, I've certainly not got one, but I have heard mention of a wall bracket to make a trim phone into a wall phone. How that would work, I have no idea. I've never even seen a picture of one. But that's something that I've heard of. In fact, I'm going to try and Google it now. Right, I'm looking for it. The handset on the trim phone apparently coded the handset number 8. Production commenced in 1965. And an initial quantity of 1,000 was offered to customers on a selective trial basis. I'm looking. Concepts currently F for small transducer, blah 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 blah. First thing to use a tone caller. Doesn't say. To be table model, or it can be wall mounted using the kit 422A. Kit 422A it says. Right. And if you type that into Google, guess what? Nothing comes up relating to a trim foam. Then get lots of pictures of trim foams, but never one mounting to a wall. So there was a kit 422A apparently, and I can't find any information about it anywhere. 422A. Nope. Like I say, I've never even seen a picture of it or anything. So I've just heard of it, but I've never ever seen it. So whether it ever even got made, or whether it's one of those things that they just designed but never went ahead with, I wouldn't really like to say. I've got no idea. Yep, still can't see it. Nope. Can't find anything about it. So 422A is what we're looking for. If anybody knows, right, what are people saying in the chat? I missed some of it while I was doing that because I wasn't looking. Arthur said most 1968 746 phones were alphanumeric. A few in 1969, but by 1970 they had pretty much phased them out. I've got some after 1970. I think I certainly got one, an alphanumeric one from 1971, and I think they may have continued until about 1972 or 3. Basically, it's when all figure numbering came in for making trunk calls, making long distance calls. When all figure numbering came in, you didn't need the alphanumerics, but it didn't come in everywhere all at the same time. So they were still sending out 746s with alphanumeric dials on into the early 1970s. Wesley says, if you Google Trimphone wall mount, then click on images, you will see one that was an eBay, but not the one I was thinking of. Right. Right, I'll have a go at that, Wesley, just to say. Because I must admit, it wasn't Google I was using before, it was DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo.com. Right, what am I doing? Trimphone wall mount. Right. Well, that's on a push button one. Right. Can I get a bigger picture? No, I can't. So it looks like they took the base off the phone. Can I show you this? Let's see if I can show you. Just bear with me a sec. Right, there you go. So that's what they did apparently. Trimphone with wall mount kit, it says this classic 80s two-tone cream and brown trimphone. Cream and brown. In superb polished condition. This is a genuine original British Telecom trimphone from the 1980s. Complete with original wall mounting kit 422A. Not a reproduction. No splits or cracks. Very slight sun fading on the handset. Scuff on right hand edge. Made in 1982 as part of the Phoenix collection. The colours were said to have been chosen by Lord Snowdon. So it looks like they took the base off the phone and fitted a new base. But if you've taken the base off and fitted a new base, that means you've put all the circuit boards and that into the new base, doesn't it? So it's not going to be an easy wall mounting kit, that, because you've taken the bottom off the phone and all the gubbins inside the phone is mounted to the bottom of it, basically. So that's not going to be an easy thing to do. That's not. Not easy at all. And then you've got a thing that goes over the top of the handset to stop the handset falling off when it's on the wall, which is also very clever. It's cunning, that is. Now somebody ought to remanufacture those kits, because they'd sell a few, wouldn't they? Bet the moulds don't exist for that anymore. But you see, that's been married up to that phone, hasn't it? Because it's not yellowed the same amount, unless it's a different sort of plastic it's made out of. But yeah, interesting, very interesting. That is 422A True Phone wall mounting kit. Oh well, there you have it. That's what it is. So brilliant, very good. I'm suitably impressed. Arthur said, "We'll agree to strongly disagree on that topic, Andy. I'm not sure what topic we're disagreeing on, Arthur, because your chat's disappeared off the top of the screen. Is it something to do about doing dial bezels?" Arthur says, "I could knock up a 1973 746 Mark 1 tonight by simply adding an original alphanumeric bezel, but it doesn't make it original." No, Arthur, I totally agree. You could knock it up, but what made me know that they go into the 1970s is there is a bit of film. There's one of these films. You know how the GPO used to like making films, didn't they? You know, about like how a dial works and life inside a telephone exchange and all this sort of thing, with very British people who spoke a lot like this on the films that the General Post Office made. And there is a film of, and I can't remember which film it is, but I've seen it a number of times, and it's basically somebody taking a phone to install a phone at a farm somewhere, and the film is dated, I think, 1971, and the GPO chap arrives in his Morris Minor van at this farm, gets out the van, walks around the back, opens the door and picks up a bright red 746 and takes it into the farm. And as he picks it up and takes it into the farm, there's a close shot of the telephone in his hand, and it's a 746 with an alphanumeric dial bezel on it. So I mean, of course, that could have been made a couple of years earlier, that film, but it's dated 1971. The film is dated, I think it's 1971. So I'm kind of going with it, and and the last places to have lettered calling, where you dial using letters for your long distance calls, I think the last exchange using that system went out of service in the early 70s, or was swapped over in the early 1970s. Arthur says, yes, I have that film, but it was made in 1970. So that red telephone is likely to be a 1969. Possibly, Arthur. Possibly. It may have been 1970. It may be me that's remembering it wrong. He takes away a candlestick. I think he does. Yeah. I think he does. I think he takes away an old candlestick and takes on the new bright shiny old plastic telephone. But yeah. Yeah. But that's what first alerted me to the fact that 746s had alphanumeric bezels, because previously I had spoken to somebody who worked in the telephone industry in the 60s, and he swore blind, and he was a man who should know, because he's an enthusiast, and he should know, and he swore blind to me on a number of different occasions that 746s would never have been fitted with alphanumeric bezels. And then I saw that film, and and that film proves him wrong. Now, he should have known, but the thing is, time plays tricks on you. Time plays tricks on your mind. Like I've just said, that film was 1971. It wasn't. You just said it's 1970. And I'm not going to disagree, because time plays little tricks on you like that. So there's a lot of hearsay on that now, and what people take as fact because they've heard it from somebody with some authority perhaps, but they've not necessarily got it right. So there's no real way of knowing unless you see it written down in print somewhere from the time. So that's the big problem with restoring phones. There's no way of knowing. You restore a phone, you've got no way of knowing if that's got the original case on it, if it's the original colour. You can have a good guess at it sometimes, but you've got no way of knowing, and that's one of the problems. Well, he says, I know that film you mean, it's called End of an Era. Just checked, and it was dated December 1970. There you go then. So it wasn't far off. It was the end of 1970. It's somewhere there though, but early 746s, certainly some of them had alphanumeric bezels. Now, what confuses this is that the exchanges that had already gone over to all figure dialing, you get 1967 746s with plain bezels on. So in 67, some of them have got plain bezels, some of them have got alphanumeric ones. They didn't all come out one way or the other, as far as I can work out. So it's interesting. Christopher says there was a 746 I saw from 1973 on eBay with alphanumeric bezel, and it had the L stamp on the base. It was 746L AEG 73-2. There you go. You can't argue with that if it's written on the base. The problem is, by the time they got to 746s, a lot of the time they didn't bother with the L or the F, putting it on the base. But there, Christopher said he's seen a 1973 one with it written on the base, 746L. So to me, that proves the lettered ones were still around in 1973. Probably using up bezels. Probably just using up bezels they'd got, perhaps. Remember, there were a lot of different people making these phones, a lot of different factories. So, if that factory, with the AEG factory code, and don't ask me what factory that was, I can never remember which factory is which code, but but that factory might have got a few thousand bezels, so they said, right, we'll make some 746Ls instead of 746Fs, because we need to use these bezels that we've already had printed, or painted, because it's actually paint on them. Bill says 706 and 746 are the same mould. No. They can be. They can be, but they're not. The bezels are interchangeable. The bezels are interchangeable, and if you've got an alphanumeric bezel, it is always on a flat piece of clear plastic and painted on the back. If you've got an alphanumeric bezel that's not flat, it's got the little lugs where it goes through the case and then turns and clips on. If you've got an alphanumeric one like that, what they call a one-piece bezel, if you've got what, and it's got the printed on the surface of it, that is a modern fake. That is not a genuine one. Basically, the GPO never printed anything on the front of a piece of plastic because they knew it'd wear off in time. You know, as people touched it as they dialed and that, they knew it'd wear off. And if it wore off, they had to go out and replace that phone because they were all rented, you see. And they didn't want to have to go out running around replacing phones because the numbers were wearing off and things. So, so they always printed stuff on the back. It was clear perspex or clear plastic, and it's basically kind of paint from what I can see of it. And did it on the back. So you put your numbers on, and then you paint over with whatever colour the phone is, grey or red or whatever. Dominic said private clones of the 746 seem to have alphanumerics for much longer. Clones of the 746. Clones of the 706 certainly did. Clones of the 746, I'm not so sure. I just don't know, to be honest. I can't confirm or deny that. But I imagine it's probably the case. It's like clones of 706s had dial 12s fitted to them for much longer because people like Ericsson making them were using the dials up. They'll ring back. So yeah, they were just using the dials up, I guess. They will ring back later. Dominic says, my GC746L clone has parts from 1975 in it, and it's new old stock. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine that would probably be the case. Bill says, what about the N1900s? Yeah, the Ericsson 706 clones, the N1900s. Yeah, they often have dial 12s, I know, and stuff. But you can't. But again, you now can't say anything for certain because bases can have been changed with markings on. Cases can have been changed. You can't say anything now for certain about anything. unless you absolutely know where a phone's been all its life. And to do that, you really need to be its original owner. And how many phones have now got their original owners? Not many, I would venture to suggest. Arthur says, I'd like to see a picture of that 1973 746L. Yeah, I may even have got one with a mark on the base myself. I don't know, because I've got one or two dial Besley, alphanumeric Besley 746s. So I'll have a look through them, Arthur, when my famously busy busy time slot allows me. I'll have a look through, and if I've got one marked like Christopher suggests on the base there, I'm fairly sure I've got a 1971 that's marked. I'm not say I've got a 1973, but I'm fairly sure I've got a 71. So that's what we're looking for. Look on the bases of all your phones, folks, and send us a picture if you've got a 746 marked on the base as 746L after 1969. Anything after 1969, so 70, 71, 72, 73. If you've got a 746L marked on the base, we want to see a photo, please. Bill says, thank you, Andy. I was wondering about the 706 clear dial plate, so that answered my question. Yeah, right. The idea of the 706 clear dial plate, the idea of the dial plate being clear, or the finger wheel as I call it. Some people call it a dial plate, some people call it a finger wheel. I call the thing behind the thing you put your fingers into, I call that the dial plate. Because if you call the finger wheel the dial plate, what's the thing that your finger actually touches on that's got the numbers in? Excuse me, got sneezes. Yeah, right. The idea of the clear finger wheels is so that you don't have to make lots of different ones in different colours. If you've got 7 different coloured cases, or 6 or 7 different coloured cases, you don't want to have to make 6 or 7 different batches of finger wheels, do you? So make them all clear, then they work on every colour. So that's basically why they did that. And you get them on refurbished 706s, which also have blank dial bezels, and you get them from the very beginning on 746s. Now, I've got a 746 from 1967, a red one, with an alphanumeric dial bezel and a red finger wheel, and on a 746, and it's an original finger wheel. It's not one of these replica finger wheels, it's a proper finger wheel. The question is that correct or not for 1967? Did the very, very first 746s from some of the factories making them? Because imagine there's about 20 different factories making 746s, let's say. Different companies making them. And they're all making all the bits, all the plastic bits and that. I can imagine at the very beginning in 1967, a factory had completed some phones but hadn't quite got the new finger wheels yet. Hadn't quite finished producing that batch of finger wheels, and they went, these very first ones we'll have to put coloured finger wheels on them. I can imagine that probably went on for maybe a week while the factory was producing all these new parts that they were suddenly having to produce. So is it right? Is it wrong? Again, we'll never know because the bits fit, so we'll never know. But the phone came dirty filthy as if it hadn't been touched for years and years and years. Inside it was dirty filthy, didn't look like it had ever been touched. There was no sign it had been cleaned or anything. There was no sign of an entry into it. There was no sign on it that anything had been changed. You know, there were marks behind the finger wheel, through the holes where you put your fingers, where there was dirt that hadn't been cleaned off for years and years and years and years. So it looked dry. Yeah, right. Arthur says, but the clear finger wheels were made in colour. That's a definite. Yes, I've seen those, Arthur. And I'm not sure if they're genuine or not. I think they probably are. I think what happened was the early coloured finger wheels were made out of, it's almost like cellulose, and again were actually clear and painted on the back. So an early, I've not got one handy, but an early finger wheel was actually clear. It was like, they looked like a vacuum forming. I don't know if they were vacuum formed, but they looked like they might have been vacuum formed. In clear plastic, then painted on the inside whatever colour, and then they're stiffened up and that by fitting that brass plate that goes inside them as part of the thing. They were the early ones. Now they probably thought, we can make this whole thing out of plastic, so they redesigned it to be done in coloured plastic then, so they didn't have to use the brass bit, you know. Redesigned it to be done in solid coloured plastic, fine, with the different opal that goes in the middle. So I think they're what you're talking about, Arthur. Then I think when the 746 came along, they retained that plastic design and just filled the moulds with clear plastic instead of filling it with coloured plastic. So I think that design of finger wheel probably predates the rest of the design of the 746, but in colour, not in clear. Arthur says they're made to replace the original wheels on 706Ls phones after when the 746 came out. Simply they didn't want the expense of them manufacturing brass parts of them, and the different opals. Why didn't they just fit well, the opals do actually fit. Both sorts of opals do actually fit both dials. But why would you fit, if they were making coloured finger wheels after the 746 came out, why would they bother? Why wouldn't they just fit a clear finger wheel to an older 706L? Which they did do, and I've got phones with that, you know. Which again, we don't know for certain if it's how they were, but I've got no reason to suggest it wasn't. You know, a finger wheel got broke, phone got dropped or something. Engineer comes out, he's got some clear finger wheels. you know, and it's a I don't know, a red 706L. What's he going to do? He's just going to put a clear finger wheel on it, isn't he? And go away again. You know what? It's going to be whatever he's got in the back of the van, sort of thing. So, because that's the other thing, you see. Stuff may have been weird at the factory, but stuff's been changed by engineers over the years. You know, in the field, hasn't it? So it's very hard. It's very hard to know. It's very hard to know. Arthur said they made the colour versions for replacement parts. For 706L phones that had not been sent for a wipe, i.e. not been sent to be rebuilt, I can send you pics. Why did they go to that trouble though? Why didn't they just fit? I'm not saying they didn't do it. Why would they go to that trouble though? Why wouldn't they just fit clear ones? Why bother making coloured ones? Interesting. I don't know. But I know the part you mean, Arthur, and I've certainly got some of them. So yeah, Arthur says they didn't fit clear ones because they had rules. They could only fit a clear wheel on a refurbished 706 after 1967. Were they that bothered? Do you think an engineer that came out to your house to fit a finger wheel would be that bothered? You think you just go, oh, I've got a clear one here. I bet if you had a red phone and he'd only got an ivory finger wheel in the back of his van, rather than go back to his depot and get another finger wheel, I bet you he'd have fitted an ivory finger wheel to your red phone. Because it means he's not going to have to work into his lunch hour and go back to the depot, doesn't it? He'll just stick it on. Yeah. Yeah. We can't know for certain. We just can't know. We can know what the rules were and stuff. We can't know anything for certain. One thing I will tell you about the clear finger wheels though is I did once have a communication with somebody who said they'd got a phone with a different clear finger wheel that was subtly different, and it wasn't a trim phone finger wheel. It was something else. And this finger was subtly different. It was thicker. He said it was thicker that way, you know, thicker plastic. And he thought it was probably a prototype batch or something like that. I never saw it in person. I saw a photo of it. It didn't look vastly different to an ordinary finger wheel, but it was very slightly different, and that was a clear one. But the clear finger wheels do differ as well between manufacturers. If you get 20 clear finger wheels and there's only loons like me that have all these spare parts that do something like this, if you get 20 clear finger wheels and look at them all side by side, you'll find there's 3 or 4 different versions of it. They all fit, but they're just slightly different. Because I'm guessing the people making the patterns for the different companies that were making these finger wheels just did it slightly differently. The classic thing is some of them have got a countersink for a countersunk screw in the middle, and others have got a flat piece in the middle for a flat backed screw. That's the classic difference, but there are others. Christian says GPO keeps stamping into the 1970s. I have one from 1969 with the L stamp that I'm restoring. Yeah. Yeah. I think probably different companies again. Some people kept putting the L on, some companies stopped putting the L on, or the F on. But what we're looking for is we are looking for into the 1970s 746Ls, things now 746Ls that are into the 1970s, because that's what we're querying, whether they actually existed or not. Yeah, as Arthur said, let's see a photo of one. Yeah, totally agree, Arthur. It's an interesting interesting topic, that. Yeah, it's something that I'd say yes, they do exist into the 70s, but until I've been and checked and looked at one myself with that marking on it, like I say, I can't say 100%. I'd say 90%, I'm sure, but until I see one with that marking on, and to be honest, I can't totally remember, because as I say, your mind plays tricks. I just don't know. So yeah, we'd have to figure it out. But yeah, we'll find out. Dominic says, not phone related, but how is Thor? Thor the dog is totally fine, thank you, Dominic. He's lurking somewhere. I've shut him out at the minute so he doesn't interrupt the stream. But he's not shut outside, he's shut in the other room. He's just had his tea, so he's happy. He's probably going to sleep at the minute. Bill says, is it possible they just use the same chassis as the 706 for the 706? I think he means, is it possible they use the same chassis as the 706 for the 746? No, they're totally different builds. Totally different shape. Different shape, different mountings for all the gubbins inside them as well. So you can't use a 746 chassis in a 706 or vice versa. It just doesn't work. Those two pieces are not interchangeable, because they're basically the main sort of framework of the phone. They're the bits that they changed, basically. Smaller circuit board in the 746 than in the 706 for a start. The 706s though did have two different chassis. They had a metal type chassis and a plastic one, originally. So yeah, and again, different manufacturers, there are differences in the chassis, particularly in the plastic ones. There are differences in the chassis between different manufacturers as well. Christopher says an eBay listing for 1973 746L phone ended 2 weeks ago, so I can't get a photo of the phone. Arthur says, I've never seen one stamped 746L, dated later than 1969. So it would be interesting to see a later one, but until I do, I don't think they were made, and I've been doing this for 40 years. That's fair enough, Arthur. That's a fair enough challenge, isn't it? You know, saying basically, put your money where your mouth is. If you say you've got one, or you say you've seen one, let's see a picture of it. Yeah, totally agree. I'm going to have a look. I will have a look through the collection. The problem is now. So I was saying earlier about matters of space and that. I keep bringing stuff in, and there's some more phones coming actually. That's another story. But I keep rescuing telephones and that. A great problem that we're starting to have at the minute, and I've seen this happen a couple of times now, is where the phone collectors, not necessarily people I knew in person, but people I knew their names, who've been around on the internet forums now for a few years. Some of them have passed away recently, and the stuff that they collected has been sold by family members who just want rid of it all, and it's generally not been sold for massive amounts of money. And on a couple of occasions, I've been approached, would you like this? And basically, we take it to preserve it and that. Remember, I've got one eye on one day opening a museum, so we take it to preserve it. And the thing is, you can't have one of anything, because I can get a row of 20 ivory 746s from 1975 all in a row, and they'll all be slightly different in some way or other. So you can't have one representative one of anything. So we keep bringing them in. I used to sell telephones. I used to sell duplicates. When I got another ivory 746, I used to sell them to an antique centre, and it wasn't worth doing. It used to cost you money to do it, because you'd sell a phone for like 30 or 40 quid after it had been all refurbished and polished up and cleaned and that, but it cost you £100 a month to rent the space in the antique centre, and you'd probably sell one or two phones, so it ended up costing you. You're basically giving stuff away. So that's where YouTube started. I started doing YouTube and that, and now we kind of break even on the costs of YouTube and that. But what it has meant is, because people see these streams on YouTube and go, oh, I need something to do with these phones. That looks like a good home for them. I'll get in touch with you, and people do, and I'm very thankful that they do. So stuff comes. So when the phone arrives, it's not one phone that arrives, it's like 10 phones or 20 phones that arrive. And the problem is now, I used to, in the loft here, you've seen the loft, we've done streams out of the loft before, used to get these shelving units and put them all on these shelving units, but I can't do it anymore because there ain't enough space to put enough shelving units up to put them all on. So a lot of things are now in boxes, and then the boxes all get piled up one on top of each other. These plastic tote crate things I tend to put them in. So it's very hard, like Arthur just been saying, go and look for a 746 L that's actually got it written on the bottom. It's very hard to get some of the phones out, because they're in the bottom box of a pile of 5 boxes, and the phone's at the bottom of that bottom box. And I can't remember what's in what box, to be quite honest. So it's getting tricky. So we really do need more space. We really do need some space. So, but stuff is not stopping coming, because the stuff needs a home. Because there is no sort of proper telephone museum in the UK at the moment, at least not yet. So yeah, that's why we're running out of space. But I will try and have a look, Arthur, through the 746s. Arthur says, how are you getting on with that black 746 from 1980 that I sent? Black 746. To be honest, Arthur, I have trouble remembering who sent what. Wasn't a black wall phone you sent, was it? It was a black 746. Have I got it here? I'm just wondering if I've got it here, or if I've moved it. Basically, it was more or less there, wasn't it? There wasn't a massive amount wrong with it, if I remember right. That one. Of course, you have kindly sent me some bits for other things in the past, but I think that was a fairly complete one, wasn't it? Have I got it here anyway? No. my bits in there. That's a black war phone. See, they're quite rare, aren't they? Black war phones. That's right, I'm just reading. Yeah, it's not here, Arthur. I think I've took it. I think actually I've took it up to the loft today because I've moved some things today, and I think I've took it up into the loft today. But yes, basically it's there. It's there. It's there. It's got all the bits and everything in it, and it's there. I think the only thing it's not got at the minute is a line cord on it, because I tend not to leave line cords on stuff if I'm not using them now, because there is some evidence to suggest that if a line cord is touching other types of plastic over a long period of time, like if you wrap it around something, there's some weird chemical reaction that goes on. So yeah, I don't tend to fit a line cord to things now unless I'm actually going to use them. Arthur also says that also not all 746L telephones from 1967 to 1969 were stamped with an L. No, I totally agree with that. I think they just stopped bothering putting the L's on for whatever reason. Again, they're making the base plates, aren't they? That why stamp an L on the base plate if you're going to, because you might put it on an F. So, and I don't know, but I think the base plates are probably stamped before the phone is assembled. Arthur says the phone just needed the main part of the handset and a clear finger wheel. That's it. Yes. Yes. Now I have took it upstairs. Yes. Yes. You sent phone, the end caps. Have I took it upstairs? Or have I not taken it upstairs? I have taken it upstairs. Yeah. You sent the phone, the end caps, like that one. That's another one that I found. But it just needs the main bit of the handset. Believe it or believe it not, and I can't quite believe this, of all the bits I've got, I've not got a blooming black handset that's not connected to anything. I've got hundreds and hundreds of handsets, just not at the moment, just not got a spare black one. I've had spare black ones in the past that I've put on things, but at the moment, just not got a spare black one. So I'm just waiting for a black handset main part to turn up. Which one will? Because they're not rare at all, really. But it's just that I've not got one at the minute that's not attached to anything else. But yeah, you did send it with a line cord on it, didn't you? And I think has it got the box on it as well? But it got a plug-in line cord. I think it's got a plug-in line cord on, hasn't it? Yeah. Arthur says it works. Not tried it yet because like I say, I've not done the handset for it yet. says a couple of Statesman telephones from 83 and 85. Oh my god, yeah. See, I move things about so blooming much. This was one that you sent, I think, wasn't it, Arthur? I think this came in a package from you. This one. This is interesting because when I moved into this house years ago, there was a red 746 here, and not long after we moved in, the GPO man came along, took away the red 746, and gave us one of these, which promptly failed. So they came back and put another phone in that was different again, that is still there. But there was one of these exactly like this here for a good few years. But no, a good few months, shall I say, not years, because like I say, it failed. So that's quite nice. General GEN 1985 9003R with a nice GPO stamp on the back. These are stuff like this era sort of stuff, and Viscounts in particular, they're starting to get collectible now. Yeah. There was a time when you could not give away a Viscount phone, and now people want them, particularly the bright coloured ones, the bright green ones and the sort of orangey ones and things. But yeah, there was a time when you could not give away a Viscount. But yeah, we've got all sorts of things. Arthur says the Statesmen were decent, but the Viscounts were far better. Yeah, the one that I really like, is the dial version of the Ambassador. I've got one. I've seen two, and I've got one. They were rare as rare, the dial version of the Ambassador. But when you take one apart, it is built incredibly well. Incredibly well. You know, all the plastic parts are like 3 times as thick as they really need to be. You know, you could probably stand on an Ambassador phone. You could use it as a step and you wouldn't damage it. It's that well built, and it really holds together nicely. You know, like when you get a really well built classic car, like an old Rolls Royce or something, and you shut the door, and you just shut it gently, and it goes clunk, and you think, oh, that's all right. And Ambassador phones are like that when you put them together. Yeah, really good, and bright yellow. I don't know if they did all the colours of it, the dial one, but it's bright yellow. It's kind of a Busby yellow. I think it must have come out around about the time when the GPO was turning into British Telecom, and yellow was their colour, sort of thing, and it is bright yellow, the same bright yellow that they painted the Telecom vans, and it's a really nice phone. Now the Achilles heel of it is the circuit board inside it, because it's got a printed circuit board inside it with little wires on it, and these little wires come off quite easily, and you know, soldered in place, some of them, and they just sort of break off quite easily. But if you can figure out where they went and solder them back on, and that, they're really good, really good. Arthur says some Viscounts had a pulse tone switch on them too. Yeah, well, I think most things did around about that time, Arthur. Yeah. So you could switch between the two. Wesley says, I've just checked mine. The red and topaz are both 68 and the black is 67. Can't put my hands on the ivory one. Is this 746 L's we're talking about? Because that would seem to back up Arthur's statement about nothing past 1970, wouldn't it? Dominic says, I've got a Dial Ambassador phone in yellow. Crikey. They're a rare thing, they are, Dominic. I think I've seen two appear on eBay over the years, one of which I got and the other which I didn't. Maybe that's the one that you ended up with. So a while now though since I saw it. Bill says, I have all the colours of the Viscount telephone now. Yeah. What? I don't actually know what colours they did Viscounts in. I don't know what the full colour range was for Viscounts. So as I say, it's a bit new for my knowledge base, Viscounts. Until recently, had I seen a Viscount somewhere, I wouldn't have picked it up even, let alone bought it. But now I'm starting to think I need to. I know they did a lurid green one. I know they did a kind of orangey coloured one. It is a really bright green. It was bold actually, because it was really bright green, and and actually it's quite nice because it's better than the god awful Concord blue 746s and 706s that's neither blue nor green nor dirty pond water colour. At least it's a nice bright colour, that green, on the Viscounts. They did that, didn't they? They did a green one, they did an orangey one, they did a sort of, well, I say orangey, it was an orangey browny sort of colour, wasn't it? They did a sort of mushroomy one. I'm looking at one now, but I can't get at it because it's the bottom of a pile of stuff. They did a mushroomy coloured one. Did they do a bright blue one? Have I imagined that? Arthur says, I like the beige and the grey ones. I didn't like the bright green at all. I imagine you had to have the right deco in your house for the bright green one. It wouldn't have exactly sat well on most sideboards, would it? It's not a neutral colour at all, that bright green, is it? Dominic says the Dial Ambassador was originally intended to replace the 746 in the early 1980s, before BT came into being. Yeah, well, like I say, Dominic, that probably is why it was so well designed, because he didn't want to have to keep going out and mending them. Chris, Andy, do you know what type case was used on 1974 746? Was it Mark 1 or Mark 2? My friend just called me on my 746L and asked me. 1974, right, this is one for Arthur. 1977. What sort of case do you think would have been on the 746 in 1974, Arthur? I've seen them with Mark 1 cases up to 73. I've not seen a Mark 1 case fitted to anything beyond 73. Bear in mind though, as we've already said tonight, cases are totally interchangeable. You can put a Mark II case on a Mark I phone and a Mark I case on a Mark II phone. They are completely interchangeable. Bill says the original colours for Viscounts were beige, grey, green, red and tan. Yeah, this is the beige one that I'm looking at here. Beige, grey, green. I can't think I've ever seen a grey one. Were they two-tone grey or were they plain grey? Beige, grey, green I've seen. Red and tan. What's the difference between beige and tan? Is tan the orangey one? I don't know. I've gone down the right rabbit hole here tonight. Arthur says Mark II at 1974 for a 746, and I tend to agree. He says Mark I cases up to mid to late-ish 1973. That one, I'm not going to argue with you about at all, Arthur. That's what I think. I think Mark I's up to 1973. That doesn't mean you'll not find a 1974, 75 one with a Mark I case, because somebody will put a case on. But yeah, I think you're about right there. So to answer your friend's question, Christopher, if it's a 1974 phone, it needs a Mark II case, we think. Wortley says beige is beige and tan is like baked bean orange. Right. So yeah, that's the orangey one that I was thinking about. I like that one. I like that orangey one. I don't think I've got one in that colour. Am I right in thinking that all Viscounts have the same coloured line cords and curly cords on? It's kind of, well, I'd call it ivory, but it may be pale grey that's changed colour slightly over the years. But did they all have the same colour line cords and curly cords? I think they did. Don't think they had coloured cords, by accounts. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a beige one. Should I get the beige one out? This may be one that Arthur said. Arthur, did you send me a beige? A beige Viscount? Did you send me one? Because if you did, this may be it. Here it is. Needs dusting because I've been doing some sanding in here today and everything's got filthy. I've been restoring a clock case. This is an old one. British Telecom. It says on the back, Viscount telephone. Designed and manufactured in the UK by STC for British Telecom. In 1983. That's the colour it should be. That's the colour it is. It don't look massively different on camera, but it has got a bit of a suntan. So they never solved this suntanning problem, did they? Never went away, that problem. But yeah, there you go. It's got a little telecom thing on it as well, you see. But this is not a DTMF one because there's no star and hash key on it. You can press them two things there, but I guess they probably don't do anything. But yeah, nice your phone, Vikings. They are actually all right. They're a thing of the time, aren't they? My aunt had one from new, which I think ended up here. I think we went and grabbed it because she's since got a new one of these horrible cordless phone things that don't work. You know when somebody rings you up and you can't hear them on the other end of it. It's because they're only damn cordless phones. But she liked it and she got that, and her Viscount was just left sort of under a whole table thing in a bag, and so I think my dad, when my dad was alive, I think he went down and rescued it actually off her. So, but yeah, Viscount. Not a bad phone, very overlooked, very contemporary-ish. I think whoever designed this had seen a Contemporary. Do I prefer the Viscount to the Contemporary? Actually, no. I do prefer the Contemporary that was designed in the 60s. Yeah, I do prefer the Contemporary to the Viscount. Definitely. I found a blue Contemporary today in the collection. Again, see, because stuff's in boxes. I looked in the box today. There was a blue Contemporary in it. We never had blue Contemporaries in the UK. It's either one that somebody's painted, and if they've painted it, they've done it well, or it's an American version, because they had them in lots of colours in America. I will have to investigate further, but that's the Viscount, and they are actually alright phones. Yeah. But be careful, because you think it's a modern phone, you think, oh, that'll work on me, on me DTMF tone dialing system, and they don't all, because they ain't got star and hash keys on them, as you can see from that. Yeah, but yeah, very nice. I kind of want a tan one now, or a baked bean orange one, as I think we're going to call it. Right. Bill says only beige and black line cords with Viscounts I have. Did they have black ones as well? Didn't know they had black ones. Chris says, are you sure I found a 746 on eBay with a Mark 1 case on it from 1974? You maybe did, Christopher, but has somebody put that Mark 1 case on it? Possibly because they wanted to change the colour of the phone. This is the problem, when everything's so interchangeable as it is, you just don't know. You just do not know what's what. Yeah. Yeah, as Arthur says, a lot of people do mix and match stuff up. They do, and I spend a lot of time putting bits back, you know, the right colour bits back. Oh dear, it takes ages. Right, oh crikey, it is 9:15. I have to get myself moving before I turn into a pumpkin or something. Alright, well, we've been down a very interesting rabbit hole here tonight with this, haven't we? We will continue this in, I think it's 3 weeks' time when we're back. I think it's just, let me double check this. I'm just sending me messages. Right. Okie dokie. Right. It's alright. Sorry about that. People being a pain tonight. Right. Where was I? Right. What am I doing here? Right. That can go. Donk. And that can go. Just closing a few windows. No. And that can stay. Right, lovely. Right, anyway, yeah, people are pestering me now for things here, so I'd better shut this stream down. So we've been on quite a bit longer than we normally are tonight. Thanks to everybody for taking part in this again. It's been a particularly interesting one tonight. So what we're looking for in the until we return in 3 weeks, we're looking for a 746. Marked 746L on the bottom, that's dated any time in the 1970s. If you've got one, take a picture of the base, please, and send it to me. As always, all the contact details can be found on the contact form, which is here at andyshed.colepress.net. And if you've enjoyed following along with the discussion and you fancy helping us out to keep this all going, then you can become a patron of the channel here at patreon.com/AndyShed again. Right, how's that then? Right, there we go. Right, I do believe that is about it for today. As I say, thanks to everybody for taking part. Bill says, sorry Andy, I've given you a headache. No more so than normal, Bills, don't worry about it. Arthur says, I'm going up to Scotland next week too, Dominic. Just for, I can't read this chat on here tonight. I'm sorry about this chat on here tonight. I'm sure you can't read it on the screen either, because I can't. I've got it full screen now. But basically, Arthur's going up to Glasgow for a little while, so have a good trip up there, Arthur. Bye, says Christopher. Bye, Christopher. I will get round to opening the blooming emails and that and seeing what you've sent in the emails and that before we come on again. Where does it have a great week or 3 ahead, Andy, and everyone. Yes, thank you very much, Wesley. Yeah, we will be back here in 3 weeks' time, same place, well, not necessarily same place, because they sometimes come from Pleasure Vale these days, but possibly same place, but almost certainly same time. Cheerio, says Arthur. Cheerio, Arthur. Dominic says, thanks everyone and see you soon. Bill, thanks everyone, and Dominic says, I'll dig out a photo of my GEC clone. Yeah, do that, Dominic. Yeah. Remember, you can stick stuff on the forum if you do want to put things on the forum. You can do. It is still there. The address for it is gpotelephones.proboards.com. Right, I'm off. I will maybe see you at Harthill Carnival next Saturday, or the following weekend, i.e. 2 weeks' time, either Saturday or Sunday, over at Fiskerton Vintage Rally near Newark. But for me, for now, I have a great week, fortnight, 3 weeks ahead, and as Gambo says,